Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to another podcast. This is BowsBros&Bucks, podcast number 21. So for this episode, we're going to be talking about a very special deer, probably top 5 all-time for New Hampshire, as far as score-wise. It's looking like, but we don't know until the 60-day dry period. But anyways, it's more important that you guys know the history of this deer. This deer was very special to me. I've chased him since 2022. I specifically hate when people say they have history with a deer but don't have encounters or pictures and just say, oh yeah, I chased it. This is one that I actually chased. It's one that I had a lot of history with. Just with moving and different things, I didn't get a chance at him. He was killed about 800 yards, as you'll hear in the podcast, from where I hunted. And it's kind of a crazy story of how I started hunting this area, because it's not close to my house. It's quite a drive. I spent every day in the summer working for a pest company, and I would say 3 days out of the week I would go up there to try to find this buck and relocate him, get more information, put out trail cameras. Half the areas don't have cell coverage, so I was using my cell cameras en masse that I had. I only had like 2 or 3 cameras that were cell cameras, and that's where I put them, because in this area I just couldn't get really internet where this buck was. Anyways, so there's some giant swamps back there. There's a lot of land that people can't hunt. There's some posted land, and then there's some fields, and it was just the perfect environment, perfect genetics for this buck to get big. He's not the only one that's big, but he's by far bigger than anything in that area and in most of New Hampshire. Like I said, he's one of the biggest bucks we've ever had. And besides his sheer mass of like 6-inch beams, this buck, we're guessing he's 8.5. We're not going to know for sure. Most of the pics that people got that are distinguishable are 2021, the year before I found him. I had an encounter with him in a field. I still don't know where he came from Velvet. Not one person that we know of has a Velvet picture, at least publicly. Other people that have also hunted him, and I know Mike Gilmetti very well. Good friend of mine, had him on the podcast, if you guys can remember that episode. He had chased the buck as well, and sadly there was a member of, not one of the like famous ones, that had tried to friend Mike and get coordinates for this deer and try to get a bunch of information out of him to try to kill it. Luckily, Mike, I think, was smart enough and realized that the guy was trying to do that, and basically made a post about it on Facebook calling the dude out because it was kind of a scumbag thing to do. Can't remember his name off the top of my head, but yeah, just sad to see that it's not worth throwing away relationships and your reputation to kill a big deer. But it's okay to like get little nuggets if you share information back, but not to try to be someone's friend just to get that. Anyways, so moving on, I'd seen this buck once in a field, and then I jumped him once in a swamp. My muzzleloader video from last year, it took place where I was hunting him. So that swamp where you can see me like hike down the ravine to get down into there, and then I set up near those scrapes on the pinch point. I had gotten a picture of him down there, and then I bumped him down there previously. Sadly, I did not see him ever during the hunting season last year, besides during the late season. But I was also chasing another buck. He's a 12-pointer, and I have way more history with him. We got a shed off him, and then we got 3 years of pictures, or 4 years of pictures now, going back to 2021. So this buck is how I found the other buck. So this buck, I had there was someone, who was it? It was a kid from my company, was working at someone's house, and they had a huge shed, and this old lady was like, yeah, I found that just in my yard. And my buddy's like, holy crap, like, he knew that was a giant deer for New Hampshire, and he told me about it because he doesn't hunt in New Hampshire. He was just coming for work. So he told me about it, and I'm like, okay, I'll check it out and basically see if it's actually big or whatever. He sent me photos of it, and I'm like, holy crap, that's a huge shed. It was a 6x6 typical, and I started to scout everywhere near there, got photos of the buck, got a bunch of videos of the deer, and then in the process of doing that is when I bumped the big one. This deer and the other one are travelers. These things go super far. I've mentioned in past podcasts about this deer traveling extreme distances, like 5 miles within a day. The sheds were found from the buck apparently 8 miles away from his core area where I hunted him. Just extremely grateful that I was able to chase a deer like that, let alone see one or get a trail camera information off of him. Probably screwed up the area. The area is like, I'm sure with like, there's so many hunters there. There's also some good like bass fishing over there too. So something in the water, maybe, I don't know, minerals. But I'm sure that that buck was just surviving in deep swamps or people's backyards. But it's just crazy that there wasn't more encounters with it. I mean, the deer seem to be, I know that no deer is completely nocturnal, that's a myth, but deer definitely move less and less during the daylight when they're pressured and go to places where they're not going to be seen. It seemed like this year, since he's getting older and older, that a buck, especially like him, would either daylight or have a smaller core range. For him, it seemed like he was daylighting a lot more on people's trail camera videos and photos. But yeah, anyways, we'll get into the podcast and we'll go into more detail, but I just wanted to share that background of how I found him. Originally was through my buddy, hearing about that lady finding that shed, then I found a shed, and just crazy. Hey, Dakota, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hey, how's your day going?
Oh, can't complain too much. Yourself?
Nice. So are you from Lebanon? Is that correct?
I'm from Springfield.
Oh, okay.
My grandparents live up in Lebanon, and that's where I usually do a lot of my hunting. But I'm currently living in so.
Oh, sweet. That's a good place to live. Is that your, how long you been doing the whole knife thing?
About 10 years now.
Oh, geez. So is that like your full-time thing?
It was for a bit, but I'm kind of taking a break at the moment. Got a little burnt out. So
yeah, that happens. I hear you.
Landscaping.
Sure. Definitely a popular New England job, landscaping. So I hear you there.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Or plowing.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that. Probably won't be doing too much of that this year. I'm kind of focus more on carpentry, but a little here, a little there keeps it interesting.
Yeah. Well, for kind of a background, so my name's Kyle. I'm from Brookline, New Hampshire, so don't know if you've ever heard of that. So right on the border, kind of, but I would drive up all the time to hunt that buck. I don't know. Are you into like naming deer, or are you just like, I don't care, people, just whatever you want to call them?
Yeah, I've heard a few different names for it. I've never gotten into that myself. I've never really been much of a, get real dedicated after big deer. It's just kind of what comes out, and he came out. That's about it.
Well, how do you know Mike? Did Mike know you beforehand, or did he reach out to you?
Diane Richardson sent me his information. Saying
okay.
He'd been hunting or had pictures and videos of it from years back, so I reached out to him.
Sure. Yeah, so I think he had a bunch of photos. I only had one or two pics of him, but I had seen him twice. I saw him in 2022, and then before I moved. So he wasn't in a field. He was deep back in the swamp. I won't go into.
Sure, that's where he spent most of his time.
Yeah, definitely. He's a smart deer. That thing traveled so far, from what I've heard. I've heard stories of people saying that his sheds were 8 miles away. Is that true?
Oh, I've heard from all over the place. Definitely Wilmette and all over.
Did you kill him at your house in the backfield?
Yep. Oh, it's not my house. My buddy's house.
Gotcha.
I just went to him here, but yep.
Gotcha. I didn't know if that was like the one near pond or whatever, but. Yep. Okay. Yep. So he was about 800 yards from where I saw him. Then that's crazy.
Oh, really?
Wow. Yeah. So I have pins all over that place. I hunted all over there, so that's hilarious. Small world. Yeah. It's funny how deer, like when there's a big one like that, kind of everybody and their mother rumors about how, oh, I hunted that one, or oh, I saw him, and and it's cool to know that it was the same one. I mean, he's pretty distinctful. He's at least in the top 10 biggest ever taken in the state. So it's a pretty incredible accomplishment. Whether you knew him about it or not, it doesn't really matter. It's a special deer. So,
hey, accomplishment's a strong word for it. I just got lucky.
Hey, well, at least you're honest. You could be lying and being like, yeah, it was because of my knives that I killed him. Yep.
Nope.
Just make sure the brand is known.
Keep it safe and tail. That's all it comes down to.
Was he with a doe, or was he by himself in the field, just looking around?
He was by himself. I'm assuming he was looking, but he wasn't like, my dad shot this, a little 8-pointer this year that was like nose to the ground, running doe kind of thing. He was just, this one, I saw him out in the field, and he was standing around, hadn't care in the world.
Yeah. It seemed like this year people had more daylight pics of him than ever before.
Yep.
I don't know what he's going to get aged at, but it seems like the older they get, either they have a smaller core range or they tend to daylight more. But that's quite interesting that happened. My only experience with Lebanon is going to play basketball, and I noticed that a lot of the kids there hunted. Their basketball crowd was always in camo and stuff, so it was kind of funny. I was like, oh, there must be a lot of hunters here for sure. I had hunted near Grafton, but.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I go up to Lebanon for the opener of rifle and hunt with my dad and grandfather and sister, and we all go out together, and
that's awesome.
That's always nice. But, yeah, there's been a lot of hunters in there lately. I hear shots. It sounded like a war zone opening day.
Vietnam.
Yeah. But, no, there's a lot of real good cuts in there and kind of good hiding holes. Saw some great, hookings when I was down in one real thicket. But didn't end up hunting it much because long drive.
And had you had no history with this deer, didn't have any trail camera pics or anything, or was it just, or did your family at all?
This deer, no. I've had some pictures of some decent buck in the area, so, I've been out hunting just about every day and getting down into some of the thickets around here and trying to figure out where they are. And there's one morning I was a bit more lazy, and it happened to pan out.
That's awesome. What was the temperature that day, if you remember?
Ooh.
I know
it was fairly warm. It must have been in the 40s.
Really? Okay.
Yep.
And what time of day was it again?
Cold days. Yeah, 8:30 in the morning.
Okay. Gotcha. And is it just like a normal field, or do you guys have like ryegrass or something?
Nope. It used to be a bison pasture, but it hasn't been for years, and it's just.
I don't know what the heck he's eating, because it didn't seem like there was a lot of oaks there, at least last year, and all the fields there, it just seemed like were kind of weedy and stuff. So I'm curious what got in his nutrition, if someone was feeding them or minerals or what.
We do have quite a lot of oak right here.
Yeah.
at least on the immediately adjacent properties. And out in the field, he was actually in a little oak stand out in the middle of the field.
Gotcha. Are they white oaks?
Yep.
That'll help. Yeah, it seems like they'll travel miles and miles to get past the red oaks to get to the white oaks, so that doesn't surprise me. As far as
tons of them around, so I don't know why he decided he had to go out into a field for them, but
yeah, it's kind of funny that they get dumber when it's that time of year. So,
yep.
Have you seen the 12-point at all in the area? That's the only one that I've had more history with than this one. I've had pictures of him since, and found a shed off him, and he's a 12-point. He hasn't grown much. He's an 11 this year, but it's pretty incredible. Like, I've seen, there's a guy that lives probably 10 minutes from you, and he's got a really good buck and a bunch of deer, and he's a super nice guy. I actually knocked into his door because he signed up for pest control when I was working for a company. And I met him that way. So it's kind of funny. Seems like a lot of people are hunters there, and that there's a lot of big woods to hide in as well, and swamps. So it's a pretty incredible deer.
And found some decent sheds around, but some of them looked like they were from decent older deer, but they look very tiny next to the Arachnoid guy, of course.
Yeah, it's not even close. What was do you know any of the measurements offhand? I know Mike told me a couple, but.
We just quickly looked at the inner span was 20 inches, and then, the first couple measurement points were like 6, 5, and 5 or something like that. I don't know shit about measuring antlers, so.
Sure.
I usually shoot small deer.
I'm sure people will ask you about that stuff, so I was just curious. I was thinking he'd go 190s total, but some people just they hunt for meat, and that's
around
what's all about.
But
180s,
once I drop it off with the taxidermist, I'm going to see about taking the antlers to go get them scored. Mike's got a guy.
Yeah, he can skull cap it for you.
Yep.
And that's smart. For a deer that caliber, I probably wouldn't leave it with a taxidermist anyways. I don't trust anyone. I've heard horror stories. Obviously, this is a special buck. It's not a 240-inch one from Iowa, but for people that don't understand, like, it's a buck of a million lifetimes for New Hampshire. So it's a...
Oh, yeah.
Besides the clucky buck and those ones, it doesn't get much prettier than that. And I don't know if all 16 points are scoreable, but again, it doesn't really matter. I mean, the deer's ancient. He's, 180 pounds?
185.
185, yeah. So he didn't even need the biggest body in the world, but that's still a good deer. I'm sure I want to say that his rack was bigger in 2022, but he definitely has more points this year. 100%.
Yeah, I think so. Mike sent me a video he got in 2022, and the rack does look a little bit bigger, but he might be a little bit past his prime, but
yeah, who knows? And I'm just glad that someone got him. I was really worried. I was like, this deer's gonna die in a swamp, and nobody's ever gonna see the rack again. That honestly was one of my biggest worries, or get hit by a car.
I was thinking about it because I do feel bad that people have put so much effort into it, and I just got lucky, but could have just been somebody, there's so many scenarios where somebody took a bad shot with an arrow and he ran off and died somewhere, or a coyote got him or something, and no one ever got him. So, could be worse.
Yeah, and do you find that for like people listening, that most of that area is kind of posted, but there's also a lot of big woods and and private land that he could hide on. Do you guys have private? Is yours all posted and stuff, and your neighbors and stuff like that?
One adjacent neighbor is, because he had some issues with people running their dogs like right up next to the house, and trying to be an asshole about it. So he posted his land. I haven't talked to him to get permission to hunt there. my buddy's land that I shot the deer on was posted by the previous owners. No,
Sure.
it's not technically posted. And then, but behind that, where I've been doing a lot of my hunting around, is like this 250-acre parcel that's got a pond, and that's not posted.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of woods outside. That's all.
Yeah.
So
even if it's not posted,
there,
I try to call the homeowners and stuff because they don't even live. I think the people that own that area don't even live there. So I had to like call 3 different numbers and ended up talking to like the daughter who's like 60 years old or something. But yeah, it's good to be respectful about that sort of stuff. And now people know like, those genetics are in the area, but New Hampshire's produce bigger and bigger bucks every year. It seemed like. I don't know if it's because people are passing deer more often or because of the privatization of like land like being posted. But either way, I'm grateful. Growing up in New Hampshire, it's very hard to see any good bucks, so it's nice to see that trend.
Yeah, my grandfather's got a couple from the I think they're both early 90s that were like 230 pounds, but nothing special as far as the racks go. So
and that doesn't matter. I mean, 230-pound deer, yeah, that's a big freaking deer. That's a big body for sure. And then you have the trackers and other people, and that's what they care about. So it's always intriguing to hear about the stories. So was his just head down? He was just feeding. He wasn't like he wasn't grunting or anything.
Yep, nope, just head down, feeding, looking around, walking a bit. It's just very relaxed. A bit odd.
Yeah, that is crazy. And did you said he was alone? There's no does, no bucks in the area that day that you saw besides him?
Not that I saw, nope.
Gotcha. And then one of the last questions. Oh, sorry. Continue.
I was going to say, we got a couple does that have been hanging around, but they're not. Usually we look out in the field and see like herds of 7 does almost every night, but this year we haven't really been seeing all that many.
Interesting. Have the oaks been pretty good this year then up there? Just because I moved, so I didn't know.
Oh yeah, it's a huge acorn year.
Yeah, so he's probably all over the place. It's not as centralized.
Yeah, walking on marbles out there.
That's crazy. That's awesome. And has anybody told you like as far as like have they brought sheds over for him or any of that?
Somebody sent my dad a picture of one of his sheds that they have. But that's about it. The only people I've talked to that have had a connection, directly are you and Mike. Some people have reached out to my dad. Some people have reached out to my sister. But
she's like, just stop DMing me.
Well, she's a wildlife biologist.
Okay.
So, there's a bit more context for that.
Gotcha. And as far as like tooth wear, did you guys look at it at all? It looked like he was ancient, do you think?
She's going to look at it on Thanksgiving when we're up there. I just have it at my grandparents'. We've got a walk-in cooler there and everything, so
nice, smart.
Storing it there, and so we're going to look at it. And she's confident.
But in the safe,
5.5 years old. But she said if she thinks it's older, which I think it's probably older.
It's definitely over 5.
Yeah, we'll pull a tooth and send it out. But
I mean, if it was fully mature at 2022, I mean, I think it's 9.
Really 9.
I would say
7.5, 8.5.
Yeah.
So
it honestly depends. Like, I mean, I guess it is a little bit harsher up there. So it could be. He could have been 5 when they originally saw him. So I guess he could be 7.5, 8.
Yep.
But yeah, the only real way to tell is sending in a tooth to get it aged in a lab, because you can check the tooth wear all you want, but it's not always accurate. So
yeah. Well, yeah, I want to get that old. So we'll do that. She knows the companies to send it to.
Sweet.
Yep.
It's an awesome story. Do you have kids to like share it with, or what was that like when you
Yeah.
recovered him?
It was, yeah. I sent a picture to my dad and sister when I first got up to him, and his head was down on the ground. I kind of propped it up or anything, so you couldn't really see all the points. And so it just looked like a real nice buck. And then propped it up and sent a picture to them where they could see everything. I was like, holy shit. Loaded it up, and I was going to bring it, check it to a registration station in person just to kind of show it around, but I just kind of hightailed it to my grandparents to show my grandfather. And,
No, honestly, I probably wouldn't bring it to anywhere. Because whenever a big deer is called, there's always like accusations for people, and then they always want to like take it away. Like, it is important for like the community to see it. So for people, if people listen to this conversation or anything, it's important for them to know, like, you offered to let me come see it and hold it, and I really appreciate that. Not a lot of people are like that. So I appreciate that you're a good person in that stance, and you're willing to let Mike come see it and people that had history with it, because you know how much it means to the hunting community. So I'm really glad someone good got it, and not someone that there were stories. And I know Mike was telling me a guy from a certain big hunting company was kind of trying to befriend him just to get locations from the deer and all that stuff, and that stuff just makes me kind of sick, and that's not what hunting's about. So
yeah, I did hear some of that, but yeah, once I get it mounted, Mike mentioned some shows and such, so I'll bring it around so people can, get a look at it, because it's an impressive deer. It's just a beautiful beast, and it'd be a shame to just have it stowed away where no one can see it. Keep it all to myself.
Yeah. And I think that's what a lot of people in New Hampshire, like, when we think about those deer, like, how many of those are killed by people that don't give a care in the world about social media? They don't care about, like, showing other people. I think it's kind of cool that you're willing to do that, because we don't know what's in people's basements. Like, there could be a 200-incher in someone's basement that they just don't want that attention.
Yep.
Which I get it, but for the sake of the deer, it's cool.
Yeah.
For especially records to know that a deer like that grew.
Yeah, no, don't. I am not one for social media or attention. So it's bringing it to shows and all that doesn't sound like a ton of fun for me, honestly, but it's more just because it's got such a connection for so many people. It'd just be selfish of me to not. So.
Well, and I appreciate that too, that you even responded to me, since I find it kind of found you in a sketchy way, like through the company. but I appreciate you answering me so fast, because I didn't see that you had a Facebook or anything. So
yeah, that's not a problem. I figure word spreads and it'll get out, and that's fine.
Yep.
Enjoy talking to people. Good.
And as far as the shot and stuff, did you hit him good? Did he like drop in at like right where he was, or what happened there?
It was about a 200-yard shot. I got him front shoulder, just a little forward of where I really wanted to be. So he did go a little bit, but it was long, and it was fatal. He didn't suffer.
That's good. That's good to hear. And do you have any, like, is this your like first big deer, or do you have any like tips or tricks for people? Or are you just pretty plain, like, I'll just go out in regular clothes and just get it done?
Yeah, I don't. I've mostly just go out in the plaid wool jacket and see what I see, and I've gotten some good deer. Over these last couple of years, I've been trying to get more serious about it and really learn a lot more. Last year was the first year I got into archery, so getting into that has gotten me a lot more interested in the nuances and how to become a better hunter and all that. So I've got no advice for people. I'm still learning myself. I just got lucky this one time. Hey,
well, you can replicate that if you put in the work and stuff. So I bet you'll be doing just fine. It's kind of interesting, like for a background of myself. So my parents are from England originally, and then my parents have lived in New Hampshire for like 36 years now. But so my dad's a gun guy, but my parents never hunted, and I got into it through like a family or a friend down the street. His dad was a big hunter, and I got my first deer with a shotgun. My dad was an idiot and said, "You're not going to be able to hit anything," so he didn't put a slug in it. He put buckshot in it. So the deer did like a backflip and ended up getting that one barely by him putting like a finishing shot on it. So that was my first experience, and then from there on, I just got into archery, and that's every deer I've gotten except for one. Out of like the 18 deer I've got, I'm 24 years old, so I'm still a young buck. But I think out of the 18 deer that I've got since like 2016, all of those have been archery except for two. So I absolutely love archery. It's so fun.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Don't do crossbow hunting. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no.
He said Dakota said I'm a real man. I'm good. Unless you fall out of a tree stand. That's what my neighbor did. He broke his back, so he had to do that.
Yeah.
But
age and injuries, I can get that.
Yeah,
but,
I agree.
It's a whole different
unless you're a veteran or disabled, I think you should try to stick to it.
Yeah.
Anyways, I won't take more of your time. I really appreciate you answering some of the questions. I know you don't think it's a cool story, but I'm sure it's one that you need to take lots of photos of. Make sure that your grandkids and your kids hear about that story forever. So it might hook someone else to want to hunt. So that's I don't know if you're religious, but God is good.
Oh yeah, it was certainly a blessing. I suppose it can be a bit of a push for some people, knowing that maybe you don't have the time to really chase after big bucks, but get out there, enjoy the woods, and maybe you'll get lucky.
Amen. Well, I really appreciate your time, and I'm sure everybody will be looking forward to seeing what it looks like once it's mounted.
All right. Well, appreciate you for reaching out.
Yeah, no problem. Hope you have a good rest of your day. Take care.
You as well.